Okay, and now for our other honoree, Dr. Arnold Ross. You know, when Andrew and I were meeting to discuss who should be the honoree, you know, there was only really one name that immediately came to my mind, and that was your name. Why? So I went to your favorite son-in-law, you know, Rabbi Avi Man, and I said, you know, your father-in-law started to daven here, that he started to pray here, that's really great. You know, why did he start to come over here? He says, well, you know, he likes the services. They're quiet and they're sincere, and, you know, he likes the services. And I said, that's nice. And he says, and you know what else? He goes, he likes the members. They're warm, they're friendly. I said, you know what? That's nice. He says, and he likes that he gets to pray with his son and his daughter, and his granddaughter who's sitting on his lap with all the family bonding time. There's something very important to that. And I said, that's nice. He goes, and there's one more thing. He goes, he loves that rabbi. And I said, that's my man. I said, that's really... So in all seriousness, it's been a pleasure to have Dr. Ross here as part of the services. As many of you know or may not know, Dr. Ross is a homegrown Californian. Together with his wife, Ataro, who live a few blocks away, they both have a stellar reputation in the community. He has a stellar reputation in the community as a man who is approachable, who is honest, who is genuine, family-oriented, and committed to his religious values. Dr. Ross is a successful podiatrist, as we know, with a thriving practice in Westwood. I've been forbidden from telling any corny jokes this morning about your podiatrist. And we all know, it's the secret around town, that he services many celebrity stars, but unfortunately HIPAA prevents me from giving the list of all the names of all the stars who are treated by you. Dr. Ross has an ongoing and strong affiliation with many organizations in the city and internationally, and many of the synagogues in the city, including but not limited to Aisha Torah, Jewish Learning Exchange, Young Israel of Hancock Park, and of course Bais Naftoli, and that is in addition to all the other public and charity work that he's involved in. When he's not learning and studying Torah in one of the early morning classes that he does every morning before he goes to practice, or if he's not learning when he's going ahead and he's hosting his weekly Torah house, he enjoys crafts, woodwork, golf, and he doesn't like to admit it, but a little bit of knitting on the side, right? I've been given a time of 3 minutes, so I want to just say from the bottom of my heart, and I invite you up here to accept our gift, and I invite Andrew Friedman up here. Mazel tov, and you should have continued success and nachas from your family. And it's our pleasure to have you here today as an honoree. Award of Honor presented to Dr. Arnold Ross for your time and devotion to our community. Congregation Bais Naftoli, Avi Leibovich Rabbi, Andrew Friedman President, June 2nd, 2013.
All right. When Andrew and Rabbi Leibovich asked me to be the honoree, I didn't realize what a really great experience it was going to be over the next couple, well, actually month or so. It's actually quite amazing to watch how it develops over a few weeks, and the work that Andrew Friedman puts into this and his heart and soul, and everybody who helps out, it's just most impressive. It's only been positive. I'm so glad I said yes. I wasn't really sure what this morning was going to be like, but it's far more than I ever expected it to be. It's a very special morning. I've met a lot of really special, nice people, and I get to be with my family and friends here, and just to kind of celebrate life in a way. I had one of my nurses call up and say, why is he an honoree? And, because I really didn't know. And they said, well, because you're a great humanitarian, and you're a great doctor, and you spend a lot of time learning and trying to grow. Well, I can vouch for the third one, because that's very objective. I can look at the hours I put in learning. The first two it's up to you whether those things are true or not. Now, as far as the doctoring side, I thought I would share with you, two of my best instructors are here as well, who I owe an awful lot of my training to from way back, and it affects me to this day, because your teachers are some of your most important people in life, as well as your family and friends. I thought I'd share two very significant patients that I had in my practice, of which there have been many, but healing people and improving their lives, that's pretty much where it's at. The first one I can think of is this was during school. This is 35 years ago, and it impacts me to this day. I had a woman who came into our clinic because they were offering a free visit in our clinic. And the lady came in, and she was overweight and limping in, and I took care of her. She had really bad growths on the bottom of her feet. I took care of her, and she stood down on the floor, and she started crying profusely. I said, "Are you okay?" And she says, "Yeah, I'm fine." And she was sincerely crying. I thought, maybe I hurt this lady. I said, "Is there anything I can do? Do you need any medicine? I feel so bad." She says, no, that's not it. I said, "Well, why are you crying?" She said, "It's the first time in 30 years I've stepped down on my feet and they haven't hurt. And I'm thinking about all the weddings and graduations and parties I skipped because I couldn't walk." That's not my only good patient. Another one was approximately 20 years. I had a young man who was brought in by another patient, said, "You know, you're our last resort." This young man, he's 17 years old, and he was told he needs his ankles fused. He has tremendous pain in his ankles. And I said, "Well, let's try some things. We'll change your shoes, we'll try some inserts, we'll try some physical therapy, try some shots, etc., etc." And after about a month, I was very fortunate that I was able to get this young man walking. And that's not the end of the story. The story progresses to, I found out years later that this young man ended up on the UCLA NCAA championship volleyball team. I actually have a picture of him hanging in my office, so I always can look at him and smile, because, you know, if you've touched a couple lives in your whole practice, it's really worth it. So I feel very blessed and grateful to have had those opportunities. And I hope I can do that and have my colleagues do the same for their patients. So a young man once asked a world-renowned rabbi, "What is the secret of life?" And the rabbi said, "Breathing." He said, "Breathing, you breathe out, you breathe in, you know you're alive." He says, then he continued. He said, "The other secret of life is your attitude about your life. Life is how you decide to view it. It's all in your hands." King Solomon said, "Every day in the life of a poor person is bad." We don't mean poor person as far as being out of money. He looks at all that he's missing in his life and laments about it. For a person with good heart, i.e. a good attitude, life is constant partying. This refers to someone who is constantly grateful and appreciative for all that he has and all the good in his life. We can train ourselves to be that way. I'd like to add something to what's the secret of life, or what's important about life, and it has to do with, as you've referred to, the Parsha of the week, about choices. We have a Parsha last week called Shalach, which spies were sent into the land of Israel, and this coming Parsha's Korach, where a man leads a rebellion against the established leadership, and we certainly have an example of established leadership here. So I'm driving down the street. It's got to do with choices. And I pull up to an intersection, and I'm sitting in my car, and it's idling. I can go right, I can go left, I can go up a hill, I can go down a hill, I can go visit my kids or my grandkids, I go to my office. These are all choices, and sometimes the choices are equal, and you're really not sure which to pick in any of those cases. And the way I've experienced my life, I sometimes get to that point, and I kind of giggle, and I say, gosh, I wonder what happens when I go that way, because I've seen choosing one way or the other, especially when it can be apparently just a random choice, can really take you to different things in your life, which have implications forever in your life. The spies in this week's Parsha had a choice. The choice was, were they going to follow their role, or were they going to take another route? They were given a responsibility to see what the land of Israel was. They had a godly choice, and they had a choice which was going to include taking care of their own vested interests. They chose the latter, and it had disastrous results. And again, we can see that for ourselves. If we have a job, and we have a job to do, and we start serving ourselves in that job, it's not going to have a good end. We can have what we consider to be a lowly job. There are no lowly jobs. And we can have a highly esteemed job. You can have a highly esteemed job and serve yourself, and that's awful. You can have a lowly job and just do it wonderfully. You can have such, starting at home, you can have such self-respect, and you can feel like you did the right thing. And I've had a lot of choices in my life, and many of them, they just seem so, like I said a moment ago, so random. Becoming observant, it's a whole story how I became observant. There's a lot of little turns and left turns and right turns which seem to be nothing specific, and my wife wanted me to mention that and how that led to such wonderful consequences down the line to this day. How I entered my profession, it's a lot of funny little left turns and right turns and up the hill and down the hill. How I met my wife and all my friends, who thank you all my friends and family for coming. I so appreciate it. It really feels good to have everybody here. And also how I entered and pursued a lot of the passions that I have in my life. Golf, running, learning, school, teaching, travel, art, music, etc. All the things that I like to do. They're very important. So ask any successful person, how did you become successful? I'll bet you almost all of them will tell you there was a lucky break. Something happened that just was right place, right time. Most successful people will not attribute it to their own works. And they'll kind of shrug their shoulders. I don't know, and I can give you tons of examples in my life. Happen to be in the right place on the right time. My responsibility and your responsibility is when you're presented with what you do with it. Are you going to come through and make the most of it, or are you going to just shrug your shoulders and walk on? I had an example like this. I was called to give a speech at a senior center. And I thought there was going to be 30, 40, 50 people there. I walk in, there's 4 people in the audience. And it was almost tempting to say, forget it, I'm out of here. But I said, you know what? There's 4 people there. Maybe I'll touch one of their lives. So I decided I'm going to give a good speech here. And I happened to notice in the corner there was a man with a video camera. And I said to him, you're taping this? He said, yeah. I said, is it possible to get a copy of this speech? He said, sure. So I gave my speech, and I pretended like there was 1,000 people out there. And I gave that speech. And it turns out I finally got the DVD from the speech. Met an incredibly nice lady and her husband who became my patients. Forget the medical side. A lot of the stuff that I do with my patients is meeting people as people. So I got the disc from the speech, and I happened to give it to my people who do my website, and they put it in YouTube. And then I got a phone call out of nowhere. Hi, we're such and such shoe company. We're looking for a consultant. Remember, I spoke to 4 people. That YouTube video got me connected with a worldwide shoe company where my face is splattered all over the world, and I give lectures and seminars, and it just cracks me up every time I see it, because I could have easily said, I'm not going to give this lecture. You only give me 4 people out here. So I was talking to 4 people. I was really talking to millions and millions of people. So again, it's your opportunities in life. It's your choices. It's what you do. And another thing that's important in our life with my wife and I is what's called kiruv. Kiruv is bringing people close. And kiruv in the Jewish community is recognizing that there are a lot of Jewish people in the world who aren't really connected to their roots. We have a couple really fantastic organizations that send us college students, post-college students. We have them to our home so we can give them an experience of what Shabbos is like and holidays. And when they're there, we try to give them good stories, explanations of our heritage, and like we've all learned, the best teacher for us is actually our students. When I have to prepare, I know students are coming over, I'll prepare a talk about something. I have to be pretty prepared. So as much as I'm teaching the students, I'm really teaching myself. So we try to bring them in, and we try to get them close to their Judaism. It's a very important thing. And there's a story, a man's walking on the beach, and he sees some starfish. The father and son are there, and he takes a starfish, and it's dying. He takes one and throws it back in the water. And the son says, Dad, what are you doing? He says, that starfish is dying. He says, what are you doing with this? I'm throwing it back. The son says, it's no good. There's so many that are dying. It doesn't matter. He says, to that starfish it does. In other words, we only have the power to influence as many things and people as we do. So that's one of the big things in our life. So I want to thank you, family and friends, for coming, my golf buddies, my learning buddies, my family, kids, grandkids, etc. Andrew, we hope your father is much better so you can MC next year. Rabbi Levovitz, Rabbi Spiro, Rabbi Honoree, Rabbi Mann, we can't thank you enough for making a wonderful place for learning and davening, etc. And thank you again for this great honor.